Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 129 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Back for you here on another Wednesday night, 7:17 p.m. To anybody who was waiting for the tweet to remind them that we usually send out before each show, well, apparently we had really reached our daily tweet limit on the account, even though we hadn't tweeted all day. So that is why. And then
Makes
Twitter
sense.
crashed. So yeah, just didn't do it. So apologies if you're listening later than you might have expected to today, if you rely on that, if there is anyone out there that does so. But anywho, we're here. The Super Bowl is this weekend, so that is very exciting and fun and wonderful and all that good stuff. But before we get into everything and all the fun, how are we doing?
Other than those technical difficulties, pretty good. Can't complain. Like you said, kind of sucks we couldn't get the word out about the show. But if people are listening and they followed us for a long time, you know where to find us. You know when we tend to kick this thing off. So hopefully you're here with us, and hopefully you're listening now. And if you come in a little late, then that works too. But as long as we're here, we're good to go.
Exactamundo. And yes, we have plenty to cover today. Starting with moments of the week as per usual. Mine was I know a lot of people were probably annoyed by this and kind of pissed at the guy who did it, but for anyone who has seen the video of the guy beating up the Florida Panthers mascot on the night where Matthew Tkachuk had 5 points, and I think it might have been a 7-1 final that same score shown on the scoreboard in the video. A Lightning fan took his frustration out on the Panthers mascot and just kept repeatedly trying to put the jersey over its head and was jumping on his back. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating.
Scumbag move, but yeah, watching the thing, I texted you, get absolutely bundled. And like you said, the fact that he was trying to make it a hockey fight and put the jersey over the mascot's head made it that much funnier.
Dude, the way he went about it was so perfect and so unbelievably funny. I was dying laughing. I showed it to a few of my friends at work. They loved it. I mean, how could you not, unless you're just taking it too seriously? The guy, I seriously doubt the guy hurt the mascot or anything, but he was really trying to go for the jersey over the head. It wasn't being denied, and it was so funny. And then he's got it successfully with one hand. He's hyping up the crowd for himself to get people behind him, and everybody's just booing at him and looking at him. It is perfect. It is art in being a psycho fan. Absolutely hilarious. It'd be way less funny if he was just punching the guy.
Yeah, if it was a normal fight, then if he was just throwing haymakers, then yeah, you feel for the mascot. You like you said, you hope he didn't get hurt. I don't think he did. But like I said to you, the fact that he is full blown in it hockey fight, going with the jersey over the head and then trying to get up and under him was the best part of the whole thing.
Absolutely went about it the funniest way possible. I really enjoyed that video. That really brightened my day. When I watched it, I was just laying in bed, just dying laughing, probably around 8 o'clock at night when that came out or something. It was so goddamn funny. For anyone who hasn't seen it, I recommend doing a little Lightning Panthers Twitter search. You'll probably find it. One of the best videos I've seen on Twitter in a long time. Unbelievable.
It was great. It was a very, very, very funny moment. I would not have found it unless you sent it to me. So thank you for sending it to me, because I did not know that was even the thing until I saw it. So kudos to you on that. Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Yep.
You're up next.
Yeah. I was trying to find mine. On to mine, of course. I have two of them this week. I don't usually go with a double moment of the week, but one of them happened last night rather, and then I remembered this one because I was listening to Zolak and Bertrand, and they brought it up again. I'll go with the more recent, of course, LeBron James. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but breaking the all-time NBA scoring record last night, 38-point performance in a 133-130 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let me say that again. They lost the game. I don't know if you're in the same mindset that I'm in, and I've seen some people share the same thought. The record's cool and all, but to me, the whole thing was just weird. The Thunder were up the entire game for the most part. I get the whole night was supposed to be about LeBron, but I feel actually winning the game just kind of took a back seat. I didn't catch any of it. I really honestly didn't care. I figured he was going to break the record at some point. Didn't care to tune in to watch the LeBron show, which is what it was. So I'm not going to take anything away from the guy. Obviously, it's a great moment for him and a great record to have. I mean, it was cool to see kind of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar kind of pass the torch to him and give him the basketball during the game. kind of weird to, stop the game right in the middle of it. You have all the Thunder's players kind of standing around on their bench, not really know what to do. Cause again, it was right in the middle of the third quarter. Still plenty of game left. So the whole thing to me was just weird. Like I said, there was an interesting tweet I was going to read off because I found this, like I said, super interesting from NBA Central, kind of talking about LeBron James and the times he's done these records and what has happened in these games. Because there's a theme that has happened. This says when he passed Michael Jordan in scoring, the team lost by 16 to Denver. When he passed Kobe in scoring, they lost by 17 to the Sixers. When LeBron became the all-time leading scorer, including playoff points, LA lost to a Draymond Green-less Warriors. He reached the 10,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 10,000 rebound mark in a 29-point defeat to the Phoenix Suns. When he passed Karl Malone, the Lakers blew a 16-point lead to Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. Less Wizards. Like I said, this has been a tradition. So kind of the theme that, obviously, again, big night. It was gonna, be LeBron was gonna be the focus, the big show of things with what happened. But time and time again, it seems like when he has these records and he's going for these records, the actual game and what really matters, especially with the Lakers, trying to fight to get back into the playing game. In that series, the OK City Thunder just absolutely being garbage this year. That's a team you should be able to beat pretty easily when you're the Lakers. Just that kind of got put on the back burner, and it was more so about LeBron, which again it should have been. But the whole situation about it, being, like I said, taking place during the game, stopping the game for as long as they did, letting LeBron give a speech right in the middle of the game was kind of strange.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw anything out of it, you had any kind of thoughts on it, or I'm just kind of up on my soapbox here, preaching about something that's not all that important.
Yeah, I think the speech is the only real bad part. People do this for like big milestones all the time. Like we saw with Bergeron, we saw it. We've seen it in the past too. Ovi for countless milestones, just a couple hockey examples. But the speech was definitely weird. But
I feel like that's something that could have got pushed.
Lost, so it's a Mickey Mouse record officially.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the Mickey Mouse scoring leader.
I get why. I kind of get why they did it. Give him his moment to address the crowd and address fans and,
do it
and
after
his family.
The game.
Exactly. Like there's been plenty of times. It's not the same thing, but like you've seen just from Celtics fan standpoint, you had the game where Paul Pierce returned to the Garden in his last game there. They held a thing for him after the game. You're not going to retire a number during the game, but Kevin Garnett, that happened after the game. So like I feel like you could have done what you did with the passing the torch from Kareem to him, and acknowledging it during the game. Stop it for 5 or so minutes, and then let LeBron have his festivities after the game and do his speech afterwards. Not in the middle of the game. It was weird. And then I'm just glad too, because I saw a lot of the videos on Twitter and Instagram and stuff of obviously the hype up before the game, him doing all the practicing of the Kareem skyhook. I'm so glad he didn't break the record. Again, this is just me at this point, kind of giving my own little spiel about it. I'm so glad he didn't go to the skyhook to break the record, because I thought that would have been super cheesy. Like that was Kareem's thing. Break the record in your own way, set the record in your own way. He did. He obviously, bodied whoever his defender was, like LeBron tends to do with everybody, went to the paint and hit a fall away. So I'm just glad that didn't happen either, because I thought that would have been just extra cheesy on top of what was already, like you said, the cheesy thing about having the in-game speech and all that. My other one, going from kind of cheesy to just a straight up douchebag, as we've talked about before, and just want to get your thoughts on this too. And if you had any insight to this, Aaron Rodgers' dark retreat that he's going on to determine his football future. I had to look up what a dark retreat even is, because I'm curious of what the hell this is. Because when I heard that, I'm sure you saw my tweet, the SpongeBob one of this isn't normal darkness, this is advanced darkness. That's what I thought of as soon as I saw, he's going to do that to go think of his future, his NFL career. But on Google, it says a dark retreat is a spiritual retreat in a space that is completely absent of light, which is an advanced practice in I think it's Dzogchen, and the just typical Aaron Rodgers weirdo stuff. Kalachakra lineages of the Tibetan Buddhism and Bon. So right up his alley, kind of a weird spiritual, mental, whatever you want to call it thing.
Yeah.
I think of this as him just like going into the woods in just the middle of the night and just kind of hanging out. Like, I don't know what exactly you can set that. I looked up a couple of pictures.
Very fun.
No, it seems like a very weird thing to do, but Aaron Rodgers is a weird guy. So I don't know if you had any,
like, what? There's no video games, there's no food. You don't like, do you eat, do you drink?
Well, no, I was looking up, like I said, pictures on Google, and apparently there's like an actual thing like with like, I don't know, I don't want to say tiki huts because that's not what it is, but like little huts and like
He
little.
just loves it. This guy just loves fucking attention, dude. It's
It
crazy.
seems like, yeah, it
Maybe
absolutely seems like it. But
maybe the dark will tell him to fuck off. And
he's gonna
he'll
pull
just,
like a Jesus and go into a cave and then come back out whatever 3 days later. Or what? It's just,
maybe
it's
the dark will tell him to become a full-time nature person to disconnect from the
just never
world
come
of
back.
media.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be sick.
be a mountain man,
Um,
just go off and live off the land and like.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is to please the nature gods or whatever you, or the spiritual people that come to talk to Aaron Rodgers or whatever's going to happen during this thing. Because I can't imagine there's not going to be like some sort of psychedelic involved with this, or just
No,
this
he's gonna be on ayahuasca, I think.
that's what I mean. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
whoever comes to Aaron Rodgers and whoever he talks to, please just tell this guy to retire and go away. Like you said, go live in the woods somewhere, do it full time, just go away, please. Because I can't take it anymore with this type of stupid, like who does this type of thing other than him? Like,
Yeah,
it's
nobody
insane,
really,
but
like, it's pretty bizarre stuff.
mhm,
Yeah, but he just loves attention. He really
Mhm.
does.
nope.
Speaking of football, as we wrap up moments of the week, the Super Bowl. It is Super Bowl Sunday, the last football game of the year. Very sad, but very
Mhm.
exciting at the same time. Chiefs and Eagles, both #1 seeds. Over under is 51. Spread is Eagles -1.5. And we talked about it last week. I couldn't be interested very much less in the Super Bowl.
Nope.
It's two really good teams, but it's just two teams I absolutely did not want to see. I came into the playoffs hoping to not see either any of the three of the Chiefs, Eagles, and Ravens. The Ravens, were given not to, but I just hate them.
Mhm.
And yeah, we get Chiefs and Eagles because, of course. I mean, it's gonna be a good game, but God, I'm just so ready for the talk about the brothers and
Mhm.
all this shit to be over.
Did you see
Like
that their
the
mom
media-
brought them
the media
cookies at
day-
media day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the media day shit, like people asking dumbass questions like they do every year, and it's just so.
Did you see the guy
It's easier
apologize?
to tolerate when the Patriots are in the.
Yeah.
playoffs.
Obviously, there's a bias there. But did you see the guy that I don't even know if it was a question. He was talking to Jalen Hurts and was like, "Oh, it was a while back. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw
Yes.
apologizing because he didn't think that he'd be able to lead in super awkward moment there. Like,
That's
gotta
like
wonder what's-
that's like an ultimate he's not gonna fuck you, bro moment. Like
yeah,
he's not gonna give you a hug. Like
yeah.
come
He's
on,
not gonna be like, dude, I really appreciate you like coming back. Like he doesn't. Jalen Hurts doesn't give a
Dude,
crap
he's-
about what the media says. Like,
He's not gonna be like, oh yeah, I follow you, bro. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay.
yeah, I remember when
so
you said
fucking
that, you
dorky.
a-hole. Like,
Some
lost, like-
some media people are so into themselves. Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, let me just be talking to one of the best quarterbacks in the world and make a question about myself.
Mhm.
Like, what a loser that guy is.
yeah. But I'm right there with you really quick on the comment because I mean we talked about this briefly when we obviously not going to talk about the Super Bowl 2 weeks in advance, save it till now. But you and I both said this. It's like this is a game I'm sure many people are looking forward to. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. It's two great teams. But that's what kind of stinks about it. You have obviously the 2-1 seeds, the two best teams left in the playoffs, and there's two dynamic offenses, great defense for Philadelphia. The Chiefs defense is kind of I don't know if underrated is the right word, but obviously you think of the Chiefs, you think more of their offense. Their defense has played well in these playoffs and down the stretch at the end of the season. But again, it just gets overshadowed for you and I both about just all the stupid intangibles that come with it and the Kelsey stuff, like you said, and just the fan bases and everything and the storylines. Like if I have to see one more media personality that's jealous of how they were, beaten up by the Patriots in their playing days, talk about how if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT and the Chiefs dynasty is here and like all this crap about, the Chiefs best, championship run or team run, whatever the hell the stupid storyline is. Like, I'm so over it. I'm glad we're finally getting to the end of things, to be honest. And again, we talked about it before. I'm going to have to bite my tongue here and just hold out hope that the Eagles can figure this thing out and beat them because I cannot take a Chiefs win with all the storylines that are going to come out of it that haven't or have already come out to begin with.
Yeah, I hope the Eagles win and then it's like a losing brother retires situation and Travis Kelce retires. Like,
Oh, there's
fuck
no
him.
way that's going to happen.
I know, but like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I gotcha.
I fucking hate Travis Kelce.
That's what
I
the two
can't-
brothers
I
should do.
can't-
They should make a bet. Whichever team
can't
loses, you have to
believe-
retire.
I literally can't believe I'm rooting for the Eagles to win. Like,
It's
I
tough.
absolutely
really is.
cannot stand Travis Kelce. I can't stand Patrick Mahomes' family. I've never liked Chris Jones. I just don't like him. It just
He's
really
a great player, but he's another
really
kind of like scumbag guy.
He pisses-
Frank
he
Clark,
just-
same way.
he's just always pissed me off. I can't
Mhm.
really pinpoint a specific reason. He's just always pissed me off. Yeah, I want the Eagles to win and the Eagles to win big.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you said, like the Eagles are really good on both sides of the ball. The Chiefs have a solid defense, but you think about them on offense, they do have guys like Nick Bolton, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, the rookie. You mentioned Clark and Jones. Brian Cook had a couple big plays, the rookie safety, in the game against the Bengals. They got some guys that can make plays. George Karlaftis, first rounder, maybe second rounder actually. No, I think he was late first. They have some players on defense. But it's the story here is the two offenses, two of the best in the league. This is a pretty ideal offensive matchup from I'm sure the league rating standpoint. I'm sure they're pretty excited about this Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Even though the Chiefs will be missing McCole Hardman, he's out with a pelvis injury. Don't see that one in the injury report too often. And the Eagles have yet to rule anyone out. A lot of players just dealing with ailments on the Eagles, but resting at the same time. So kind of just like playing it safe. They want them to get reps, but at the same time, they don't want anything flaring up. We got Juju Smith-Schuster questionable, L'Jarius Sneed, Kadarius Toney, Willie Gay Jr., Trey Smith, Isaiah Pacheco, Patrick Mahomes is listed on the injury report with an ankle injury. Jerick McKinnon is listed with injuries to both of his ankles.
Mhm.
But yeah, with Gay Jr., Toney, Sneed, Schuster, all listed as questionable. The rest are just on the injury report. On the Eagles side of things is Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Avonte Maddox, Robert Quinn, James Bradbury, AJ Brown, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Sumalo, Darius Slay, and Josh Sweat. Some of those guys are dealing with injuries and rest. Some are just plain old resting, which I don't really hate.
Mhm.
For the Eagles, maybe it comes back to bite them, in retrospect after this game, but I don't know if it really will. But I don't have any problem with Sirianni giving some of his big guys rest and, let them stay fresh for game time. But I don't know, man. At this point, I'm just hoping for the most entertaining game possible and for Travis Kelsey to lose in epic fashion.
Yeah, that would be nice, but
It's not a Mahomes thing for me, which I feel like is a thing a lot of people have come to dislike Mahomes for is like the legacy talk already. I feel like some
Mhm.
people use that as a way to hate him. I
Mhm.
don't necessarily like love Mahomes, but I don't hate him for that reason. But
I'm getting tired of him for it.
it
Like,
would just it would be nice to see people try to scramble after watching them lose. Like the
mhm.
people who are trying to build up this legacy, those people too have really made me just hate the Chiefs more.
Absolutely, because again, I've seen this discussion on Twitter before where it's like, oh, the Chiefs get like we talked about this last week. I think we were like the Chiefs have kind of taken the identity of like, oh, why not us? And all these people are doubting us. It's like, no one's doubting you. You've been the talk of the town for the AFC for the last 5 years. Everyone knows that. So like that is like that moniker, I guess, for lack of a better term, around that and that identity around this Chiefs team going into the Super Bowl, I think it's definitely turned me off too. Because again,
Yeah,
you're the number one seed. You haven't blown your way through the postseason, but like you've won these games in pretty good fashion. Like no one is doubting you going into this. Now maybe there's some doubts of as we'll get into for kind of keys to the game and stuff coming up. Obviously Mahomes, how healthy is he going into this? I saw a report that said he's pretty much good to go. He's not going to have any
yeah,
restrictions or anything. So that'll obviously hurt the Eagles. Maybe if you're an Eagles fan, you were hoping on him going into this game a little hampered with how good Philly's defense is. The big thing for me is, can the Eagles limit Travis Kelsey and make some of these banged up receivers if they play? Like you said, Hardman's out. Juju's questionable. Kadarius Toney is basically an enigma at this point. Like the guy comes in, makes one play, and then gets hurt. It seems like every other
yeah.
play he's out there. So how much can you trust him? Like that's the big thing for me for the Eagles is you got to make one of these guys beat you. But I don't know. Like like I said, the legacy stuff has gotten to me. It's gotten completely irritating. Like I don't want to say I like Mahomes because like again, it just the overshadowing of the greatness talk and everything, like I've said before, has kind of soured him to me. It's insane. Yeah. I don't know. Like you said, I'm hoping for a good game too. I'm hoping obviously for an Eagles win. I think the Eagles probably have a better all around team and have less questions. Like you said, a lot of these guys come into this injury report. Like if you were to read this and go, oh, holy crap, half their team's on the injury report. And then, like you mentioned, just a lot of it's rest. I I like that. I think Sirianni's doing a good thing there, getting some of these guys off their feet a little bit. I hope, like you said, it doesn't come back to bite them, but I don't think it will. The one thing I'm worried about is obviously the intangibles. The Chiefs have been here before, and a lot of these players have been in the Super Bowl before. Meanwhile, really none of these Eagles players have been. So is that something that comes back to, maybe bite the Eagles a little bit, the inexperience there? But like I said, there's such a well-rounded team up and down. There really isn't a weak spot that you can find on it. Like we talked about, the Chiefs defense is a little sus at times. The Eagles defense isn't. Their offensive line's great. The one thing maybe it can come down to, and maybe will come down to, is can Hurts outplay Mahomes? And if does he have to? Because the Eagles obviously do so many good things on the ground. They don't really have to rely on Hurts a lot, as we've seen, in these playoff games so far. Is this going to be the first game where the Chiefs really, shut down Philly's run and says, Jalen Hurts, beat us with your arm? Can you do that? Can he go toe to toe with Mahomes is the big question for me if it comes down to throwing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that really is the biggest story. Like, we could either see a nitty gritty, like 3 or 4 point game, or we could see a high scoring, like close 3 point game. I don't think we're seeing a final here with more than like a score difference.
No.
Like,
okay.
I think this is like almost a guarantee to be close. But I'm not gonna say I love Jalen Hurts' odds to outdo Mahomes, but I absolutely think it's possible, and I hope he does.
Okay.
Do we want to get into score predictions?
Sure. I realized I put the wrong sleeper pick. I have the exact same MVP and sleeper pick as you do. I mixed up the two defenders on Philly. But I'll start with my prediction because, again, I have some keys that might go into it. I have Eagles 27, Chiefs 23. Like I said, I think the Eagles are the more complete team. They do a lot more things well than the Chiefs do, in all honesty. But the big thing for me, like I said, if the Chiefs shut down the Eagles' run game and have to force Hurts to throw, I think this might get ugly in favor of the Chiefs and might turn into a bit of a blowout. But because for me, it's the Eagles. They got to be able to kill the clock, run these long, sustainable drives and play, score on them, of course, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. That's the big thing. And then the other thing on the flip side for me too is if the Eagles defense, like I said, make somebody other than Travis Kelce beat you. We talked about, how banged up the receiving core is of the Chiefs. If they go into the Super Bowl, I'm sure Smith-Schuster's going to play. I'm sure Tony's going to play, or they're going to try to give it their all in the Super Bowl, of course. But if they're banged up and can't go, like I said, make them beat you. You just don't get, bludgeoned over the head with Travis Kelce. You look at his stats. He's got 21 catches. I think the next closest guy is 10 or 7. Yeah. Kelce's got 21 receptions on 25 targets this postseason. The next closest guy is Valdez-Scantling with 7 receptions on 10 targets. So it's clear where the offense is coming from on this team. It's obvious to say with, the star power they have at that position, but make somebody other than Travis Kelce beat you. I'm curious to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play in this game. He got taken off of IR with both, as you said, both Kansas City running backs, not questionable, but showing up on the injury report with Pacheco with the wrist and McKinnon with the ankles injury. If CEH is going to get any playing time and if he'll be a factor in this game, or that's something maybe to keep an eye on as well. Yeah,
it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But the good thing for the I don't know if this will be good or because I don't know how Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be.
That's what I mean. He's been out for so long. It's like, can you really rely on him to give you anything? But then again, if those other two running backs are banged up, if Mahomes is still somewhat dealing with the ankle and he's not mobile enough, do you maybe have to try to go and try to force feed Edwards-Helaire here and see if he gives you anything?
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon's been really trustworthy, but if he gets banged up, with his ankle injury or something else, and Edwards-Helaire can't, step up, it's really just Pacheco. So some question marks in the running game there. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like another back to the storylines thing. Chiefs fans are going to use the McCole Hardman excuse if they lose to be like, oh yeah, well the Eagles beat Patrick Mahomes without one of his top receivers. That's the copium they'll use. I thought about this for a while. I'm going 31-23 Eagles.
Okay.
I said it won't go more than a score. I'm technically right here because this is an 8-point margin that technically isn't over a score, I guess.
Okay.
If we're getting technical.
Yep.
But I really don't see this being a blowout either way. I have Jalen Hurts winning MVP and Hassan Reddick as my sleeper. I think Hassan Reddick's been a game breaker this year, and if there's someone to like force a fumble or something on the Eagles defense, it's a good chance it's him.
That's where my mindset's at. Yeah. I don't think I said it, but I think that's what it's going to come down to for me too, is I think whichever team's defense makes the biggest play of the game, that's who's going to win it. I think obviously the Eagles have so many more playmakers on that defense, like you said, including Riddick. As I said, I have him as my sleeper as well. Same MVP as you, Jalen Hurts, because we've seen it before. It's so tough for, the quarterback of the winning team not to win the MVP. The defense is going to have to do something great, but that's why, like, you and I both have Riddick there, because we think, I think at least a scoop and score may be the difference in this game for the Eagles. Maybe I want to say maybe a pick six, but if you look at both these quarterbacks, the big thing too is they don't turn the ball over in these playoffs. Hurts 2 touchdowns, no picks. Mahomes has, I think, 4-0, if I have the stats right. Trying to scroll back up. Yeah, 4 touchdowns, no picks for Mahomes either. So both have been incredibly good at keeping the ball out of the opposing team's hands. That's, I think the first one to make a mistake in this game, that's probably going to be costly. And then, like I said, a scoop and score. Philly's defense very well could take this game over. And I think that's going to be the big thing, because this too for the Chiefs, I mean, let's be honest, they've had it easy with the last couple of defenses. The Bengals pass rush couldn't get in on Mahomes at all. Jacksonville's really couldn't do anything either. This is going to be the first true elite pass rush and elite, front seven that they faced maybe all season. So we'll see. Obviously, the Eagles have played really well in that aspect too. So that'll be something obviously to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And I mean, the Eagles have a sneaky good secondary as well.
True.
Give
Yep.
them some credit. Your prediction is along the same vein. I think we're seeing a score pretty much around this range, no doubt. Like I don't see much of a chance. I feel like this just feels like the range it's going to be. I feel like, you can go to any Super Bowl, predict a score like this, and you're usually going to be pretty close. So
yeah, it's a rarity you get a super big blowout. I mean, what was the last one? Probably that Panthers and Broncos Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right around there. So
Right around there.
not too many blowouts in the Super Bowl, which obviously
Yeah.
you want. You don't want a game like I said, if Kansas City takes over this game, or obviously we want the Eagles to win. You like the Eagles to win in the blowout just to add insult to injury a little more, but you don't want a boring game. And I feel like if you get a lopsided one, it's going to be boring, and then there won't be much to talk about.
If it's an Eagles blowout,
you will or you won't.
I'll have fun if it's an Eagles blowout.
Oh, I will too. Don't get me wrong, but again, like you're rooting for, as much as you don't want to see, maybe the ball in Mahomes' hands late in the game with a chance to win or at least tie the game. That's obviously more entertaining to watch, and you're obviously root for the entertainment factor, I think, just as much as you root maybe for the blowout factor for the Eagles.
Yeah. Did you say your score yet? Did I miss
I did.
that?
20. Yeah, I started with mine, then I
okay.
kind of got off on a tangent. 27-23 Eagles, with your same predictions for awards. Hurts is the MVP with the sleeper of Riddick.
Alrighty. So now we shift to prop bets. We're hoping to have friend of the program make his return after 2 years. But he's at the Celtics game, Mike McClellan, for anybody who's been listening for a while, to do prop bets. But he does have a couple bets that he wanted to send over. He has Boston Scott to score a touchdown and heads on the coin flip, just to throw a couple in there. I'm not a bettor, but I think I'm gonna make a goofy, like crazy parlay, like one of those you'll see to like 20 to win like 40 grand, and see if I can drum something up and win some crazy money just for fun. I think I'm gonna make it like a yearly tradition to throw a couple bets in the Super Bowl just to make it a little more exciting, especially one this year that I'm not super pumped about like I was last year, and many of the Super Bowls in years past, especially the ones the Patriots played in.
Yeah, it'll keep your interest more.
Yeah, exactly. And the Bucs Chiefs, I did hit Leonard Fournette anytime touchdown score, so that was good.
There you go.
It's always nice when you bet so infrequently to hit. It always feels extra good. Prop bets, though, we will start with: will any scoring drive take less time than it takes to sing the national anthem? I've picked the same thing every year. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say no.
I changed my mind, because again, like I at first was like, oh, the Eagles will get a scoop and score, and then I'm like, well, that is a scoring drive, and that's going to take less time than the national anthem takes. So I'm going to go with yes. I looked it up. I texted you this. Like some of these I go way too in depth with to try to figure out, to see if it gives me any sort of advantage anywhere. Like I was looking up I did this last year too, and I think I said it on the show, going through like, oh, when this has been the result of the coin toss, it's been heads this many years, so it's going to be tails this year, like all that stupid bullshit. But the average, I think, national anthem I saw takes like 1 minute and 58 seconds. I saw Chris Stapleton is singing it this year. I don't know how long he usually takes, if he's ever sung the national anthem. Didn't look into that. I didn't do that much homework. But I'm going to go with yes. I think you're going to get, like I said, a quick defensive score from the Eagles that ultimately may prove to be the difference in this game.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Coin toss result. I'm going heads. Just fuck it.
I went tails to be different.
Okay. Who will win the coin toss?
Someone will win that one. Yeah. No one's going to, we'll figure that one out. We'll be good there.
I have the Chiefs winning the coin toss. Just vibes.
I have the Eagles.
First offensive play of the game, I will say pass.
Yeah, this one tough for me because it all depends on who wins the coin toss. If it's the Chiefs, they're going to pass the ball first with Mahomes.
It's really all just random to me.
Fair, that's fair enough. I feel like a lot of people go into it like this. Like I said, a couple of these I went really too in depth, but this one, I mean, to me, it makes too much sense. This one, like the Eagles, they run the ball more so than they pass the ball. The Chiefs, they pass it more than they run it. So, like I said, Eagles, they win the coin toss for me, and that means they're going to run the ball to start the game.
Fair enough.
Maybe Chuck will get his Boston Scott touchdown right out of the gate on that. We can both win a little bit of a bet there.
Yes, I was already planning on throwing Boston Scott anytime touchdown in my big parlay, but now I'm definitely doing it with the reinforcement. You know, I'll ride with a friend of the program on that one, no problem. Where are we? Will there be a score within the first 6 minutes and 30 seconds of the game? I said yes. You know, I can see someone scoring early, definitely.
I said no. And again, it goes back to, hopefully the Eagles keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, put together these long, sustainable drives, kill a lot of the clock, and, win the game that way. I think they're really capable of doing that. So I have them, of course, scoring first and not being within the first 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Gotcha. I'm going with the Eagles scoring first for the next one.
I did as well.
What will be the first scoring play of the game? A field goal or a touchdown? I'm going touchdown.
I went the safe bet. I went field goal. I feel like this game, at least to start, it's going to be a little bit of a filling out process. One team's punch, the other team punches back, type of thing like that. So I went field goal.
All right, fair enough. What will the first touchdown be? I am going pass.
I did as well. I had run it first. I wanted to think the Eagles were going to take a touchdown right out of the gate, set the tone early, but I think Kansas City will answer Philly's field goal on their opening or their first or second drive with a touchdown pass.
All righty. Which team will record the first sack and who will lead at halftime? For first sack, I'm going Chiefs. For lead at halftime, I'm going Eagles.
I went the opposite. I went Eagles with the first sack. Maybe it'll be that strip sack I'm hoping for. And then I went Chiefs at halftime.
Fair enough. Will Rihanna sing Diamonds for her first song? I'm saying no, and I'm going a little bold. I'm not really counting on this because it doesn't feel like an opening song, but I'm going to go Rude Boy. I'm going to go with a surprise.
Okay.
I don't think Rude Boy sounds like a song you start with. But I'm going off the board on this one, trying to, have some fun with it.
See, I went in the same direction because I was like, what? Like, think of Rihanna songs. That's what I was trying to figure out where they got Diamond from. Maybe that's like her best-selling song of all time. I don't know.
Diamonds is absolutely not a song you start at halftime.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like, I'm trying to think of a Rihanna song that you would start a show with. I'm like, she doesn't really. Rihanna has plenty of bangers. Don't get me wrong.
No Diamonds, no Umbrella. Like those aren't songs you start a performance with.
No, I'm thinking too. I'm like the only new song she has out is the one from the Black Panther movie, and that's way too slow for a Super Bowl and super emotional. Maybe she shocks the world and does that to start. But I'm going with What's My Name. I think it's an obvious pick. Like Rihanna's doing the Super Bowl, hasn't sung in a while or hasn't done anything big in a while other than that Black Panther song. So. What's My Name, I think, is the go-to here.
I think Ponder Replay is possible. Shut Up and Drive, no. Take a Bow, hell no.
Nope, too slow.
This is what you came for. I think could be in the mix, but
that's
I don't think
a sneaky pick.
What are some other ones?
Just for the song title,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going Rude Boy. I'm going a little off the board. I feel like who's really to say. Okay. Will Jay-Z, Drake, or Eminem appear on stage during her halftime performance? I'm saying yes, and I'm going with Jay-Z.
All right. I went no, but I did pick three other people. I went A$AP Rocky for obvious reasons. She has a kid with him. I went DJ Khaled because I feel like, DJ Khaled, I don't know about that one. I feel like he'll find a way to sneak in there a little bit. And then I went with I was looking up just to see what are other people thinking? What are some surprise ones? And one that came up a couple times, Britney Spears for a lot of the list I looked at, she was like a sleeper pick. So I'm going to pick Britney Spears as well. Obviously been in the news quite a bit this last year and a half or so. Maybe Britney makes a surprise appearance with Rihanna. I don't know what they'll sing together. I don't know if they have a song unless I'm blanking on something. Like I said, she was a common theme throughout some of the lists I saw. So I'm going to go with her too.
Interesting. See, like I don't think it would be for Run This Town because Kanye West is on that song.
I was gonna say there's one that Kanye's in. Yeah.
I don't see them bringing Kanye out, but I don't
Probably
know.
not.
Just vibes like Jay-Z, Rihanna, to my knowledge, have a positive relationship. Jay-Z is obviously a legend. I think the crowd would go freaking berserk if he was on stage. So I'm going.
That would
Jay-Z.
be the one out of those three. I would 100% pick Jay-Z.
That would be sick to see Jay-Z. I don't want to see Drake or Eminem. I feel like Eminem is just something you say no to.
Wasn't he the one last year?
Was he?
He was. Yeah, he was part of.
Who was it last
Dr.
year?
Dre was last year, wasn't he? And he came out with him, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, did he?
I think Eminem was in that one. We'll have to look it up later. But
Evan McPherson.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. He was watching it. So yeah, I feel like Eminem was part of it last year.
I don't know, maybe. What will be the first scoring play of the second half? I'm going field goal.
I did too. Go with the safe pick.
Yep. Who will finish with more passing yards? I'm going Mahomes.
Easy. Mahomes, 100%.
Yeah, I'm going receiving yards, AJ Brown over Smith-Schuster. Like, unless they just absolutely have to rely on Smith-Schuster a ton, I think AJ Brown's the easy pick. Most rushing yards of the two, Sanders and McKinnon. I'm going Sanders. McKinnon, those ankle injuries make things a little iffy, but he has been very reliable late into the regular season, into the postseason. So who knows? Will there be a missed field goal or extra point in this game? I'm saying no.
Oh, I thought you had yes at first for this, and you were going to convince me.
Wait, what?
Did you switch this?
Did I read the wrong one? I think I read the wrong one. I did say yes.
Okay. Yeah, I saw yours and I went back and forth because I had no at first. I went back and forth. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Someone will shank a point after attempt, and maybe that'll come back to haunt the team.
I was mixing it up with the next one I have, which was defensive touchdown, which I said no. So
I said yes to that one.
Yes.
Yep. As we know, scoop and score. Let's hope for an Eagles touchdown.
Bing, bang, boom. Will there be multiple interceptions? No.
I said yes.
What am I thinking? I'm changing that to no. Multiple interceptions?
Yeah, it's the Super Bowl. Quarterbacks are good for bad throw or bad interceptions. It seems like all the time.
Not these ones.
Not these two. You're right. But maybe towards the end of the game, again, if Kansas City, especially if Kansas City's down like they would be in your prediction, maybe Mahomes tries to do a little bit too much and throws a second bad pick. I think Hurts might be good for one. Again, that inexperience will probably come into factor with it. So I'll say one for both, maybe two for Mahomes in case, if, like I said, if they're down late and they're trying to rush their way back into things.
Gotcha. Who will have more turnovers in this game, the Chiefs or the Eagles? I'm going Chiefs.
As am I. Like I said, 2 picks for Mahomes, maybe a scoop and score, strip sack for the Eagles.
We shall see. Will the game go to overtime? We both have no. Which team will win Super Bowl 57? We both have the Eagles. Yep. Will the margin of victory be 10 or more? We both say no. And will a non-QB win Super Bowl MVP? We both say no as well. So potentially Hassan Reddick, though. Maybe.
Yeah, I so badly wanted to be like, yeah, you know what? I'll roll the dice, take the gamble, and go with yes. But
yeah, we shall see though. No. Those are our prop bets. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a friend of the program, Mike McClellan, on, but he's watching the Celtics and the 76ers in the building tonight, which reminds me I got to put that game on.
Tough game he went to though. No Al Horford, no Rob Williams.
I know
Embiid and Brown are both playing. They were both questionable. So that would have really sucked if he went to that game. And obviously great just to go to the Celtics game in general. But the fact that you go and no Embiid, no Horford, no Smart, no Brown, no Rob Williams would not have been the most ideal situation.
Yep. And friend of the program, my roommate Matt Dorn is also there. So
nice.
They're both in the building. Before we wrap up football, we do have our quick NFL award predictions. As the awards, I believe, are like Friday or Saturday.
I think it's probably MVP. Saturday night before, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. MVP, we got Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, and Patrick Mahomes. We both have Patrick Mahomes. I feel like there's a little bit of debate this year, but I feel like the consensus is pretty much Mahomes.
Yeah, we talked about this probably right around week, 15, 14, or 14 or 15 when Hurts started missing those games with the shoulder injury. You and I both were in agreement. It's like it's probably going to hurt his MVP candidacy because people will argue Mahomes played the full season. That's what's going to happen here. And again, not to take anything. I know we've, not the biggest Mahomes fans, not to take anything away from him. He's had a fantastic season. So it's his award to lose at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Comeback player of the year. We got Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, and Geno Smith. What Saquon and Christian McCaffrey did this year was awesome, but I mean, those are two big names that you can expect to perform more than Geno Smith, who a lot of people, including myself, thought was probably close to done, and he proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. So I'm going Geno Smith.
I think we both, combined between the two of us, we might have had the Seahawks maybe winning 3 or 4 games all season, and I think they were one of the teams.
0.
Yeah, you had winning no games at all, and the fact that they made the playoffs with Geno Smith. You took the words right out of my mouth. McCaffrey, obviously, what he did when he went to San Francisco was tremendous. Barkley, we talked about it in the weekly wrap-ups week after week. He at times was the entire Giants offense. The Seahawks wouldn't even have come close to the postseason if Geno Smith didn't do what he did this season. Obviously broke Russell Wilson's, I think, what was it, regular season passing record or for yardage or whatever it might have been, and is now probably going to get himself a pretty good payday in the offseason, hopefully to go back as a Seahawk quarterback because he was excellent with them. And like you said, not the biggest of the 3 names there. A guy who a lot of people probably thought's career may have been on the, the ending side or just was going to be a career backup at this point in his career. He was excellent this year. And like you said, he's my pick as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think we covered all the bases there. Offensive player of the year. This is one I think there's absolutely a pretty large consensus on. We got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, and Patrick Mahomes. It's got to be Justin Jefferson. Really, just added to his case to be the best receiver in the league this year. No slouch in Tyreek Hill, obviously, when we're talking about receivers, but Justin Jefferson is really just spectacular, breaking some Vikings records this year, putting himself in company in the record books there with statistics and stuff with Randy Moss already, which is, pretty ridiculous. One of the most purely talented football players ever. It's Justin Jefferson for me easily. I don't think anyone else should win this award.
No, I think you can make a case for the other guys, but I'm just solely same reasons as you did. But I'm also going to stick with, if people remember, he was my preseason pick to win Offensive Player of the Year. I'm going to stick with that, ride it out, and hopefully he proves me right.
I don't know who I picked for that. Do you remember? Did you look back recently? I don't know who I had.
I did not. I just off the top of my head remembered.
I might have said Chase.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I can't.
Yeah, I think Offensive Player of the Year should be the most electric player on offense in the NFL. I think that's Justin Jefferson, and for defense, I think it should be the same. We got Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, and Micah Parsons. It's really close between Bosa and Parsons, I feel. You can make the case for both. I think it's about a 50-50. But I'm going Nick Bosa. More sacks, more tackles for loss were the big, deciding factors when looking into this one here. Because I really wanted to go Parsons at first, but I did a little digging, and I'm going to go with Bosa.
I'm glad you did, because I just went off of, I feel like, how the media is going to go. And I think this is maybe the one where you're probably going to see a lot of head scratching, because rightfully so. If you have it, he has more sacks, he has more tackles for loss, was more impactful with those stats.
Sacks too.
Then it probably 100% should be Bosa. But I think throughout the season, all you heard was, and again, not taking it away from him because he's a great talent. But I feel like a lot of times you heard like, oh, Micah Parsons is the top guy for Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's going to stick, and he'll probably end up taking it. And then you'll have like, oh, Bosa probably should have won the award for all the reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if he wins it and fans are being mean to him next year, he can, or no, that was Joey. Never mind. Fuck. Joke did not land. I was going to make a joke about he can brag about that to fans next year.
Yeah.
But that was his brother. Tough luck for Joey there. Tough luck for me as well, trying to be funny. Head coach of the year, we got Brian Dable, Sean McDermott, Doug Peterson, Kyle Shanahan, and Nick Sirianni. I went back and forth between Dable and Peterson for a half second, but all year
I did as well.
It's been Dable. What he's done to the Giants, with scraps a receiver, he's elevated Daniel Jones. He proved that he can elevate quarterbacks in Buffalo too. He was, I think, huge in the development of Josh Allen. I think it's got to be Dable. The Giants had no business being in the playoffs this year, and I hope my buddy Mike Romano is not listening right now because he's a Giants fan, but they really didn't have any business being in the playoffs. And he turned them into a serviceable team, a team that's probably going to sign Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley long term, and is kind of building something. I don't know if it's going to last. I could see them, not quite living up to the hype next year that they, set up for themselves. But regardless, Brian Dable, I think, deserves it this year.
I'm with you. Same thing. I went back and forth on those two guys, but I feel like you go back and look at what each team did last year. I mean, Jacksonville, they made substantial changes to that team from a roster. Not to say the Giants didn't either, but the Jaguars made, bigger moves, brought some not big names, but decent names in. They obviously had Trevor Lawrence there. You kind of figured out number one pick. He has something there. He's going to be good. There were so many questions about Daniel Jones going into the season and if he was the guy. Obviously questions about Saquon coming off an injury. Did he still have it? Or was he, on the decline? Dayball was great, and I'm with you. The Giants had no business of being in the playoffs this year. No, I don't think anybody predicted him to be so.
I think I had
not the people
like 6 games.
Yeah, somewhere around there, 5 or 6 for me too. The big thing for me is like, how is Pete? When I saw this obviously a couple weeks ago come out, how is Pete Carroll not on this list? Again, with what he did with the Seahawks. Particularly over Sean McDermott. Like you figured Sean McDermott was going to have a good season with the team that they have. So that one's kind of a weird one for me. But yeah, I'm with you for all the same reasons you mentioned it. It's Daboll 100%.
Yeah, I think this one's, a little tight, but I think Daboll should win. Offensive rookie of the year, we got Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, and Garrett Wilson. I'd love to put, more respect on Purdy's name here if he played more games, but just didn't play enough games to, I don't think even be in the top 3 here.
I was surprised. No, I'm right there with you. I was shocked that they gave him it in just such a short time. Yeah,
but Kenneth Walker, while battling injuries, had 9 rushing touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, about 200 yards in the air. It's got to be Kenneth Walker for me. Garrett Wilson had a really good case, but I think Walker just edges him out in that regard. Took over when Rashad Penny got hurt as well, and didn't really skip a beat. No real jitters for him. He came in ready to contribute, and was a huge part of why the Seahawks proved so many people wrong and made the playoffs this year.
Yep, I'm right there with you for that. I think Garrett Wilson would have had a better chance if he had a consistent quarterback play. Because with the numbers he could have put, obviously put up great numbers as a rookie, but if he had a quarterback that could actually throw the ball at times, he would have had a even better season than he did. I hope, again, I don't want to disrespect Brock Purdy here in the season he had. I hope they don't give it to him.
That would be kind of weird.
Yeah, because all the reasons you said, and then you mentioned it too, that Kenneth Walker obviously didn't start the year as the number 1 back, had to come in off of an injury to Penny and was dominant right from the get-go. So I hope they give it to him. I think they should. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we could have, if Breece Hall fortunately didn't get hurt, we could have seen 2 Jets in the mix here.
Absolutely.
But, unfortunately he tore his ACL. So
he probably would have been a pick over Wilson. Sorry to cut you off, but I feel like if you had to go with 1 or 2,
too,
yep.
Definitely would have been over Purdy if he played a full season.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Defensive rookie of the year, we got another Seahawk in Tariq Woolen with Sauce Gardner and Aiden Hutchinson. I don't know how you can pick anyone besides Sauce.
Yeah, this is a runaway.
He took on a lot of elite receivers this year. Every week you'd see something like, oh, Sauce Gardner held this receiver to 2 catches on however many targets, like 10 yards. One of the best rookie seasons for a corner I can remember.
Yep.
He's like a top 5, top 3 corner in the league already.
He's just going to say he's going to be a problem in the AFC. He's going to be a problem for a long time. He's incredible.
He is nails, and he was right away. Legit, I think it's not crazy to say he might be the best corner in the league already.
I don't think so. It sucks that he's a Jet because he is just he's everything you want in a corner. He, talks his shit. He backs it up. He doesn't back, like you said, he week after week went against the number 1 guy, never backed down. Really, there wasn't a game where you were like, oh, this kid looked like a rookie out there. There's some question marks. He was nails every game he was out there, it seemed like.
Yeah, and he streams on Twitch. He's a great streamer. So
there you go. Very entertaining.
He's versatile. That is going to wrap it up for football, though. Excited for the Super Bowl, even though, it's not the most exciting matchup ever in terms of, interests for us.
Can't say that enough. Yeah.
Yeah, can't say that enough. I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat, but should be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, it's the last football game of the year, so just gonna cherish it and look to the offseason after that. Sure, we'll have plenty to talk about. That's when draft prep will really kick up a notch for me. I figure we'll do Bruins because it's a little quicker than the NBBA stutter.
I thought the thing glitched out for a second. Not gonna lie, I was like, oh, there was a delay there or something.
Yeah, but we'll do Bruins real fast. Not a ton to talk about for Bruins with the bye week and the All-Star break, but
You don't want to
they
go
did
really in depth with the one Toronto game that they
no,
played? Break down
no,
every
not
period and
really.
every. All right.
Not really.
Fair enough.
They went to Toronto though a week ago today and beat them 5-2 on the road. 39-7-5 going into the All-Star break would have been sick to see them hit 40, but what can you really say? 39
Mhm.
wins at the All-Star break is ridiculous. Omar again, awesome. 33 saves and 35 shots in this one. Derek Forbert is making a habit of whenever he scores on like a perfect shot every single time.
Mhm.
Scores shorthanded here. You see Frederick hard on the forecheck, gets it to Coyle with all that hard work on the forecheck, and then gets it to Forbert. Really good shorthanded shift. Unfortunately, quick response by Mitch Marner not too long afterwards to tie the game up. Brendan Carl's goal was still funny because he was just standing off to the side and kind of like
Yeah.
shot it very gingerly, and it still went in. He scored like a gentleman. Like
Mhm.
if only he had a top hat on instead of a helmet, he'd be a perfect gentleman.
He's the
In that
Dennis
game.
Seidenberg of this day and age. He scores the weirdest goals you'll ever see.
He really is. It's really a perfect comparison.
Mhm.
AJ Greer, funny goal. He just like took a Maple Leafs defender stick along with him as he shot this. Another snipe from a guy you don't conventionally expect to do so, but that was a big goal. Speaking of snipes, Pavel Zacha, I mean, just another ridiculous goal.
That guy sucks though. Don't
Yeah, he
let
sucks.
don't let how he plays fool you. According to the people on Twitter, he's not a good hockey player.
Trigger warning for any Devils fans listening.
Mm.
Broke TJ Brody's ankles and just absolutely let one rip. Perfectly placed shot. And then Krejci eventually finds him backdoor for a little tap in later in the game. Multi-goal effort for him. Every defenseman on the team suited up. This one had a point besides Connor Clifton. So good to see some scoring from the back end. That's awesome. And one of the big storylines here was just Michael Bunting trying to insert himself into this rivalry and become like this Marchand type player, and it just wasn't working.
No.
One gripe I will say was when he took the stick and like a glove up high from Carlo and was bleeding, but like God, it was just so over the top and so forced. I was just really kind of dorky. He started some shit with Coyle behind the net after Yarncroke's goal. It was just really weird, really dorky. He's kind of doing this a little bit now, and it's just kind of cringe to watch.
What I don't get is like just watching that guy. I'm sure he's done it before too, but just watching that game a couple times, obviously that they didn't call the penalties, and he's just showing up the ref. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
like, why
dude,
do you think
come on.
you're gonna get away with doing that? And then they're gonna turn around and be like, oh, you know what? After you whatever you said to us and showed us up, we're definitely gonna start calling penalties in your favor. Like that's not
Yeah,
gonna happen.
come on. It's chess, not checkers. He has yet to learn that. He has
Mhm.
much to learn. We learned thing from Marchand. It was funny before when Marchand was talking about how like terrible Marner's white skates looked, and now he's always talking about his dog in the ice, like
Mhm.
chirping him. He went on that Twitter rampage last week. Marchand has been in one. I don't know what he's doing on the break, but a lot of players have been vacationing. So getting some rest and some relaxation and some sunlight. Um Up next, though, we do still have to wait till Saturday. They will have the Capitals though at home.
So dumb.
Yeah, but what can you do? Extended break. It's
Fair. Yep.
in a good way. It's like good that they have this like double bye week pretty much with the All Star break, because then you don't have one like in a couple weeks and you just break things up and
That's
potentially
true.
like
Yeah.
give you a little heat check, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, to find a silver lining, I guess. Washington 27-20-6, fourth place in the Metro. Alex Ovechkin unsurprisingly leading them in scoring. He's got 32 goals, 22 assists in 52 games. They've been getting some business done lately. They extended Dylan Strome for 5 by 25 and Sonny Milano by 3 by 5.7. So locking up some forwards for the future. They're hanging on to a wild card spot for dear life with the Penguins right behind them. John Carlson, Connor Brown, and Carl Hagelin should all be out of the lineup unless anything changes. And they were struggling heading in the All-Star break, winning just 4 of 10 games. So we'll see how both teams show up for this one with a long extended period of time off for the Bruins. Up next after that, 3 days later, so they get another little decent break. They go to Dallas though to take on the Central Division leading Dallas Stars for 29-13-10. Jason Robertson making that contract he signed in the offseason already looked like a steal. They're pretty good. I mean, they're overachieving, I think, a little bit. But Jason Robertson's been huge. Ropa Hintz, Jake Ottinger. Their defense has held up nicely. Miro Heiskanen is still Miro Heiskanen, and I think Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn bouncing back a little bit has been really helpful for them. Haven't quite been themselves the last 2 years, but there's another team just winning 4 of 10 games going into the break. So we're stumbling a little bit. So it's one of those weeks where, at this point of the season, you're kind of going in with an open mind. You don't know how teams are going to come out. So, 2 teams the Bruins, I think, can beat, but 2 teams, they could definitely provide some challenges and be good tests here for the week ahead. So just 2 games up ahead. And do you have any other notes about these 2 teams?
Not really. Just for the Bruins' sake, keep the momentum that you got. Obviously, it was nice to see them kind of right the ship a little bit against Toronto, get a nice win against obviously a longtime rival going into the All-Star break. Like you said, it is tough coming out to see how things are going to react and how teams are going to go up against each other with such a long break. But as best as you can, try to keep your foot on the gas pedal. Obviously, Washington, we've seen in the past, gives this team fits from time to time. Don't fall into that trap. And then, like you said, Dallas has had a nice bounce back from a lot of their guys. Keep the momentum going against them.
Yep, absolutely. And we'd be remiss to not mention that the Bruins and the Atlantic All-Star team did win the All-Star game this year. We saw Pastrnak do the Happy Gilmore. That's just a layup.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
Sergei Ovechkin stole the show, I think, in the skills competition. That was awesome. But the skills competition, everything has really lost its luster. We used to have Ovi with the hat doing the funny stuff. We had Kane doing the Superman. We had Kaprizov last year where Ovi's jersey uses stick and going on a breakaway. Trevor Zegras last year was crazy. I feel like we didn't have anything super crazy this year. But seeing Sergei Ovechkin was definitely the highlight, I think. The pictures of him hanging out with Kirill Kaprizov too. And Kirill Kaprizov was pretty much a babysitter. He was babysitting Brock Nelson's kid at one point. Looks like they're having fun, but man, they got to spice things up a little bit this year. It's just
what was the thing they tried with? Was that just a fly? Because I turned it on. I think the Celtics were on that night, so I was watching that for the most part. To be honest, I didn't even know the skills competition was on because I really didn't see any advertising for it, like on Twitter or on just TV at all. The advertising wasn't all that great. But the one time I did turn it on, because it was after I saw the Pastrnak stuff on Twitter, I'm like, oh, I'll see what's on if they're doing anything interesting. And they had guys playing golf. So I don't know if that was just like a Florida thing because that's where the game was, or if that was a new thing they did. So I don't know. Didn't hate that. I found it. I'm like, that's a little interesting twist on some things, but I'm with you. I mean, all the All-Star games, it's something you could talk about forever. They're all not in great spots. Like the NHL is trying to do different things. Basketball, the last couple of years has tried to do a couple of different things. But it's tough because, what can you really do to change things up or, be different year after year? Like it's a tough place to be in.
Yeah. Sarah Nurse did the Michigan. That was cool. Ethan Frank, I don't know if you saw in the AHL scoring skills competition, got under 13 seconds for the fastest skater, which is like really hard to do. That was crazy. There's like the one thing I was forgetting, the host, Matthew Tkachuk, and the rest of the Panthers that were there. Him and Brady's was pretty funny. Matthew Tkachuk ends up with the puck in his bucket hat and shoots his bucket hat into the net. Brady shows up with a beach chair on the ice. And Christian Wilkins was there as well from the Dolphins. That was cool.
I did see
Roberto
McDavid.
Luongo was in net.
I did see McDavid make like a joke of the the accuracy challenge or whatever, that he just four shots knocked out all the targets, and it was like didn't even break a sweat.
I don't even think he won though.
Oh, he didn't?
I don't think he won.
Who the hell beat him? Did he get like 9 seconds or whatever it was?
Yeah, he was like in Ray Bork mode pretty much.
Yeah.
I didn't like watch that part of it. Yeah, Brock Nelson won.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts given what McDavid did. The number 1 player in the league putting on a show though, as we should expect. Some Bruins trade rumors though before we shift to Celtics trade deadline stuff. As we're less than a month away from the NHL trade deadline, it appears the Bruins are zeroing in on Jacob Chychrun and maybe Jonathan Toews, and David Pastrnak is getting closer to signing an extension. Pierre LeBrun says the Bruins are in on Chychrun, and the fourth period says they are believed to be in the mix on Jonathan Toews. I've made my case here. Like, I don't want them to make a big move this year. I don't think there's a need to. Chychrun would cost too much for my liking. I don't want to trade their 2023 first. I don't want to trade Fabian Lysell. There's not a big enough need on defense to make a huge move for Jacob Chychrun. It has taken them so long to move him for a reason. They're very firm on a high asking price. And we just you're not going to play Jonathan Toews in the wing. They don't need a $10 million, $10.5 million center that you're going to need double salary retention on.
Yeah, no
I
thanks.
don't know what they're thinking with these guys. I like that they're shooting for the moon. It shows that, they want to, up the ante and win. But you don't need a move like this when your team's playing this good. I really don't see the point. On Pasternak, Emily Kaplan said they're financially very close and is trying to get done this season after some progress in the last few weeks on Pasta's deal. And Elliot Friedman on Friday said they're moving towards getting done. So more of the same in that regard, but good to see, continued mentions of progress on Pasternak. But how are you feeling about all this, these Bruins updates?
I'm with you. I'm glad you mentioned the point that, you're glad to see that they're going after such big names just to show, I guess, that they're in on things. They're not going to maybe take a backseat or anything. Not that we thought they were going to. But I'm with you. Like, this team's good enough as is. Obviously, you want, when you're in this type of season, you'd like the team to make some sort of move. Again, I think I said this last week or a couple weeks ago when we talked about it, maybe just to, not that the Bruins are doubting player wise or anything, that they're doubting that, upper management's going to do anything and, maybe not trust them. But you would like to see them do something just to get a guy here. So I'm with you. Maybe get a couple of depth pieces here or there just in case some guys get banged up at the end of the year, need some time off. Obviously, if you can maybe get, Bergeron or Krejci, some of the older guys off their feet towards the end of the season, if you wrap things up early, that'd be good. I'm with you. I've heard obviously a lot of great things about Chychrun, but it's not a time when you need them. You got, if you didn't have Lindholm, then maybe I'd say, go out and get your big defenseman this year, but you pretty much knocked that out last year. Toews wouldn't be the worst guy to have, obviously, for the postseason run. Has been there, has been successful. But you have a lot of those guys too. Obviously, Bergeron, Krejci, Marchand, those guys have been there. They've won it, they've lost it, so they know what it takes. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know a lot about the guys you have as your top targets here, other than the one that's obviously played for the Bruins. But yeah, I'm not big on going out and selling the farm for a couple of guys when you could just get a couple of depth guys. And maybe fill some holes if you even have any.
Yeah, and it's a different thing too if the Bruins have won 27 or 28 games at this point. They're trying to get over the hump, and I think one of those guys can help them. I understand it more right now with 39 wins at the All-Star break. You don't need to break the bank this year. Right now, you absolutely do not need to, and I don't see that changing.
The only thing I was going to say too, it's maybe my mindset would have shifted if, say they lose the game at Toronto, then they come out, they lay an egg against Washington, they don't play well against Dallas, and they're starting to really slide. You're like, okay, maybe one of these guys could be a shot in the arm type of thing, and you go out and maybe spend a little more. But right now, again, it's not like they're treading water. They're still dominating most of the league for the most part. Like I said, I think they got over the little skid that they had that, again, we talked about it last week, I think came at a pretty good time. So yeah, there's no need to again, overreact to anything or go out and, get a big name when you don't really have to.
Yeah, exactly. No, would be a good shot in the arm for cheap would be old friend Noah Chari. Bringing an old friend back. I'd love them to bring Noah Chari back. I think there's a good chance St. Louis moves him. I like Nick Bugstad in Arizona. I like Nick Bonino. If, maybe they can retain a little salary to make it easier. In San Jose, I don't think they'd have any problem. Josh Levo, maybe the most slept on bottom six forward in the league. If you're an analytics guy, I highly recommend you go to Evolving Hockey and look at his RIPM chart. He is a defensive monster. Kind of out of nowhere. I feel like nobody talks about him, but those exact guys, the Twins at Evolving Hockey, put me on. He has been a monster this year, and I think he'd be like a super fourth liner on this team. Can play either wing. Like that a lot. Adam Ruzicka. I don't know if the Flames will move Adam Ruzicka because he's a good young player, but he's been out of the lineup a little bit and been scratched a few times, but he's a really good young player, and he's 6'4" and can play center and wing. Good skater, good around the net. I think if the Bruins could, take advantage of that, pick him up, I think it'd be a guy who can play in your bottom six for a few years and is still coming into his own. But I just don't know if the Flames will move him, but that's an outside of the box guy I think they could target. I like Tyler Mott in Ottawa, who we saw moved last year at the deadline. And if the Penguins slip out of the playoffs, I do like Teddy Bluger. I've liked him for a while now. He's a good hardworking fourth liner that I think they could get for cheap if the Penguins fall out of the mix. But yeah, those are my guys right now. I've been in the mindset for a while of, wanting depth and hoping that ends up being the case because that would be very ideal for me. I want to hold on to the 2023 first. I'll be very sad if they don't. And we have some breaking news as we are about to segue into basketball.
Oh, I was gonna say, did Pasternak sign? Is it breaking Bruins news?
That would be sick. But unless you have any further hockey thoughts, I also mentioned that Bo Horvat got a contract extension 8x68, and Dylan Cousins got extended for 7 years and $49.7 million. So some big time centers locked up. But you had any other hockey points, or can we get into this breaking news?
Not that I can think of. I was going to ask you, I thought I saw on Twitter the other day, there was one defenseman the Bruins may have been linked to, or people saying, yeah, do you have any thoughts on Shen? Is that a guy you go after?
I think it'll cost too much.
Okay.
But look, if you can I like the player because I don't think, for a guy who's got a little bit of postseason experience, plays hard defensive style, I don't think a second is a ton for Luke Shen. It is on the surface, but like for a valuable guy like him, I think it's fine.
What it's going to cost you.
Yeah, if you could get him for a third or a fourth, though, it'd be a lot more ideal. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the Canucks are going to be stubborn on Luke Shen because he has expressed willingness to stay, even though the Canucks suck. And rentals are expensive. So I don't really understand why people are so like hell bent on getting Luke Shen when the right side of the defensive core has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I get it with the Carlo concerns with the injuries, but I don't think spending that much for a right shot defenseman is the move. If you can get a guy like Justin Braun, maybe for a third or a fourth, I'd like that a lot more. If we're talking about a right shot defenseman. But I think people forget too that they got Mike Riley in the minors. They got Anton Strawman. They got Jack Ashawn. That German kid they signed, I don't know how they feel about him. I mean, he's another option if you're feeling it. But just throwing some options out there, I don't really think the need is that big. And if they want to do it, their target should be a guy they can get for a fourth or fifth round pick. I don't think there's a huge need to spend for a big time depth defenseman. I just really don't think there is. But they are linked to Luke Shen. That is a fact. But we'll see what happens there.
Okay, fair enough.
On to basketball. We do have some breaking news, even though it's been, rumbled about all day. The Lakers are finalizing a deal to land D'Angelo Russell from Minnesota, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt in a trade including Mike Conley and picks to the Timberwolves, and Russell Wilson in a lightly protected Russell Westbrook, excuse me, and a lightly protected 2027 first round pick to the Jazz. There's been rumblings today too that the Jazz will buy out Russell Westbrook. They're both Russell W.
They both stink too, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
We actually have it on the screen right now too. The Lakers get Russell Beasley. Oh fuck! It went away. There were some additional players.
I have it here. The Woj tweet. I have it here.
So, no. I just read the Woj tweet. There was another name shown on the broadcast that wasn't in the Woj tweet.
Player wise,
yes, I don't remember who it was now.
I have the entire thread here. You want me just to read the whole thing?
Yeah, maybe you have the other guy's name.
Okay, so I'm just going to go right from the top. I'm going to say what you said because it's just going to help me figure this thing out. So like you said, the Lakers are finalizing a deal to land Minnesota's D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt in a trade including Mike Conley and picks to the Timberwolves and Russell Westbrook in a lightly protected 2027 LA Lakers first round pick to the Jazz. Second Woj tweet was also in this deal. Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Jones to Jazz. Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the Timberwolves. Sources said Minnesota gets 2024 lesser of Washington, Memphis second round picks. In 2025 and 2026 second round picks via Utah. As we know, the NBA with their draft picks, they're always looking to the future, always looking in advance. It's the only league where you can trade like a 2035 second round pick and people will be fine with it. But yeah, that's an interesting trade. We'll start there. I find it funny that the Lakers are once again trying to, get something out of D'Angelo Russell. Of course, the team that drafted him a couple years back. The one that stands out for me in this is the Jared Vanderbilt part of it. That stinks. He was a guy the Celtics were potentially going to be linked to. He's a guy, as we'll get into a little later, that trade exemption, the TPE has come up again. I think the Schroeder one from last year. He's a guy that would have fit nicely into that for the Celtics. He's a guy that would have been a solid depth big man, can play the power forward, can play the center position off the bench. As I said earlier, you're seeing tonight, Al Horford and Rob Williams both dealing with injuries. So you're going to have to start Blake Griffin at the center. Grant Williams gets more minutes, and so does Luke Cornett. Vanderbilt would have been a nice guy to have off the bench, a guy that had some controllability, 2 years, I think, left on his contract, young guy. So that stinks that he goes there. But early thoughts, that's no surprise. There was reports last night during LeBron's whole thing, Russell Westbrook, I almost said Wilson too. He had the blow up with Ham, their head coach, at halftime. I think with, how he'd been used or how he'd come off the floor after he was taken out of the game. So the writing was on the wall for him there. Obviously, it hadn't worked out. I saw a tweet too that I was going to read off that I might have lost it. Like the 5-year contract that Russell Westbrook signed, he played for like 5 different teams just to show how, far from, grace he's fallen. So the Lakers, we talked about it. They're in the 13 seed right now, I think, trying to get into the play-in tournament, trying to make some moves. This move obviously helps them a decent amount. Utah, I think, was obviously trying to get rid of Mike Conley, so that helps them there and their probably desire to tank. Big trade. Not surprising though that it gets done. Like you said, especially when it was getting talked about pretty much all day.
Yeah, it's confirmed now. Waiting for this one for a little bit, but interesting trade. We'll see where Russell Westbrook ends up as well. But centering in on the Celtics, we have a name that happens to be a center to start.
Yes, I mean, there's been a lot going around the last couple of days, last couple of hours, including today. Some more names have popped up. So like I said, a lot of them I'll run through, kind of get our thoughts on. Starting with a center that used to play for the team the Celtics are playing tonight, Nerlens Noel, Detroit Pistons center. This is from the Athletics, James L. Edwards. He said the Celtics recently called the Pistons and inquired about Noel. Boston joins the likes of Miami, Denver, Dallas, the Kings, and the 76ers, of course, who would reunite with Noel. Thing also went on to say that Danilo Gallinari, his $6.5 million, that contract would be a potential trade partner that would work money-wise. I've seen some conflicting reports that the Celtics, they don't want to trade Gallinari because I think players, the report I saw said like players have been happy, I guess, lack of a better term, with his recovery, obviously coming off the ACL tear. They want him back. They want him to play. So maybe trading him might not be the best thing, but he is one of the assets they have to move money-wise that would stack up with a lot of guys. Noel, to me, like I said, they do need a center. I'd like some more center depth, but you're dealing with two not injury prone, but guys that are hurt right now in Horford and in Rob Williams. Nerlens Noel has really never been healthy in his career. He's played just 13 games this year. He's only started 3. He's playing 11 minutes. Like, yeah, he'd be a good guy to come off the bench. He'd be nice depth for Al and Rob, but again, like there's the injury concerns there. There's better options out there. There could potentially be cheaper options out there as well, as we'll get into a little later from, the buyout market potentially. It's a decent name.
Every time I think of the buyout market in the Celtics, I think of Greg Monroe.
Greg Monroe is like the king of the buyout market. He seemed like he was always on it. But yeah, no, I don't know if you feel differently about this. But nice player, but I just don't think he
got a text.
That's not surprising. What did he do?
He's going at it with Grant Williams, it would appear.
Okay.
Maybe talking some smack.
Maybe he was doing it to Cornette earlier, I saw, because Cornette did the
going PU at Cornette.
Yeah, because Cornette did the Cornette contest twice, and Embiid stuck a 3 on him, and then was running up the floor being like, "That move sucks."
I love Luke Cornette, but they were laughing about it.
Yeah, they're both in good faith. Yeah.
My preference at the center position on the trade market is the very next guy we have, the Clinic himself, talking about reunions with Noel and Philly. I would love to see Kelly Olynyk back here for the right price.
I would too. This is another one. I mean,
they'll pretty much move anyone, it feels like. So
they would, but you are getting the reports that have already come out. Of course, Danny Ainge, old friend of the Celtics, maybe pass the Celtics a bone here. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. This is from ESPN. I think this tweet came out yesterday, maybe earlier today. I forgot to timestamp. It said, quote, "The Jazz are asking for too damn much." This was from an NBA GM on trade talks with the Jazz. So with Danny Ainge at the helm, that's no surprise there. I'm with you. I would, out of the two guys, I would prefer the reunion with Olynyk. But like you said, it is pricey, comes with, some clauses here. This is from Heavy Sports' Steve Bulpett. Said, quote, "The Celtics are looking into what it takes to complete a Kelly Olynyk trade with the Jazz. It's unclear if they have enough to offer." From Celtics blogs, Bobby Manning went on to say, "This makes sense given Boston's lack of 2023 first round pick and difficult path to matching Olynyk's $12.8 million salary." Combining
one quick thing. That is crazy to me how that is a sticking point, because the NBA routinely has picks like 10 years down the road being moved.
Well, the Celtics don't have a 2023 first round pick. They don't have.
I know, but like that's what they're hung up about, just
True.
send him another
Yeah.
fucking first round pick.
Exactly.
Who cares? Get
Well, I thought
2027 first round picks moving into the Westbrook deal.
I thought the same thing too, but then I went and looked a little. I dug deeper. I can't remember what the article was or who had it. It might have been Keith Smith. We'll get into him a little later. But apparently the Celtics, because they traded their 2023 first round pick last year in the White deal. Yep. There's some rule where they can't trade their 2024 first round pick in the fall. The NBA trades, and especially like we said with draft picks and salaries and stuff, it's very strange. But then on the flip side, like you just said, send him a 2026, 7.
5
2032, like who cares? But yeah, I mean, anyone's going to ask for a first round pick for Kelly Olynyk. It makes sense. He was a first round pick himself, has had a decent NBA career. But on the money side of it, like I was saying, combining Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchard, and Justin Jackson falls short. Again, Gallinari's name comes up, says including Gallinari's $6.5 million contract instead of Cornett's works. But given his torn ACL and second-year player option, he might not be a player Utah wants to absorb without acquiring more draft capital from Boston. Like I said, I'm with you, Olynyk. He makes a lot of sense. He does a lot of things well the Celtics do. He's a big man that can shoot the 3-ball, can take over a playoff game, as we've seen in the past with the great series he had a couple years back against, was that Miami he beat? I can't remember who it was against, what playoff run that was. I should know talking about it. But yeah, Olynyk, I don't think he'd be opposed to a reunion here. The thing is, of course, is, how much is Danny Ainge going to ask for? Can the Celtics make the salaries work? And do they want to move Gallinari? Like I said, there's been some reports today that have come out that said they're looking into it. Other reports have said maybe they're a little hesitant. But like you said, you're high on Olynyk. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to give into that.
I just love the idea of reunions with former players, and I love calling him the clinic. And I mean, he's playing good this year. I mean, 11.5 points per game is no small task for a guy I assume is, coming off the bench. Am I right in assuming that, or no?
For the
Maybe
Celtics,
not,
yeah,
because he's on the Jazz.
No, he started every game for the Jazz this year.
Oh,
yeah, 43
he?
games,
Okay.
43 starts. Yep.
I just think of him as a bench player. I think I got confused there, but then I right as I said that, I was like, wait, he's on the Jazz. So
yeah, he's playing for Utah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player, man. Like, and they know what they have in him. They got some familiarity. I know it's been a little while, but I don't know. This guy is much more appealing to me than Nerlens Noel. So
absolutely, I'm right there with you. Again, it makes a lot more sense. I think the Celtics too, like that's how they operate. They want a guy that can shoot the 3-ball as well. Noel really doesn't do that. He's more of a rim protector guy, but again, like the injury concerns are there. I would rather go with Olynyk.
You don't trade with a guy that has injury concerns of his own when you're talking about guys that he
trying to
reinforce that
cover for exactly.
Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No.
Know what else doesn't make a lot of sense to me is the Kevin Durant stuff coming up again.
Yeah, it's back.
We've freaking Jaylen Brown talking earlier this season. Like, I hate seeing myself in all these trade rumors. Why am I always in these trade rumors? And then it's fucking happening again. It's not going to happen. If it does, I don't know what I'll do with myself.
I don't think it's going to. I think this is, again, just like part of me thinks this is coming out. There's someone in Brooklyn is leaking all this stuff just to kind of be like, oh, we'll try to tear the Celtics apart from within. Because obviously when those reports first came out during the offseason, we talked about it on the show that, Brad Stevens had come out and said, it told Jaylen Brown, we're not discussing you in trades. We didn't leak that. We don't know where it came from. So, and now, how much of that do you believe or not? Or is that just all a smoke and mirrors thing? I think they're 100% sticking with Jaylen Brown. They're not trading him. Obviously the first initial report came out from Stephen A after the Kyrie trade, where, he said Boston is a team to watch out for. And of course that means Jaylen Brown. Keep his name, in your mind. It's not going to happen. Keith Smith of Celtics blog had an article come out the other day that had some highlights of some things the Celtics could be doing and some players they could be, whose names have come up. Durant was the first bullet point he came up with. He said, quote, don't expect anything to happen here. First, Durant would want to trade and the Nets would want to have to trade him. Unlike Kyrie, who could walk away for nothing after this season, Durant is on a long-term deal with Brooklyn. That gives the Nets more leverage. Did you have a comment?
No, I was just going.
Just celebrating? Oh, we're just hitting a 3? Okay.
I was going to say bang like Mike Breen, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Fair enough.
A loud scream, so sorry.
It's okay. And then this other comment too on this Durant thing, he said, quote, another source told Celtics blog, I'm not sure Boston would re-engage. We know that they have talked over the summer, but that's a huge deal to make in season. And I'm not sure Brad would want to disrupt things that much, but it's Kevin Durant. You have to at least make the call. I get that comment. Like when a guy of his caliber becomes available, you have to just do your due diligence, pick up the phone and be like, hey, Brooklyn doesn't look like they're in the best situation right now. Kyrie
Shit.
wants out. Ben Simmons isn't really giving you anything. Did Jaylen Brown fall on his face? What happened there?
Him and Tatum collided. Tatum went for a rebound and bumped into Brown.
Oh no. If he's hurt, trade him quick for Durant. Well,
a little bit.
there's no value.
An elbow.
Yeah,
or
it took an
upper
elbow
arm?
right to the
Oof.
jaw, it looked like.
Jeez. Come on, Tatum. Let Jalen get his boards.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't. This is something I don't think you have to worry about. Again, like I've seen a couple of reports come out now today that are like the Nets probably. This is too kind of echoing the same thing. This is too big of a move to make during the season, and you're not going to trade this type of guy. Obviously, I think Chris Haynes had the report that if he does become available, the Suns are one of the teams that are going to push heavily for him.
Oh, Cornette. He
so
got
if that's the case,
the backwards two-hand slam.
You're delayed on mine. That happened like at least a minute ago.
The Xfinity.
Okay.
It's always delayed.
The app stinks. But yeah, this is to put people at ease. They're not trading for Kevin Durant. Durant's now dealing with an MCL injury. He's going to miss the All-Star game. So if there's anyone who still sits there and goes, I would trade 25-year-old Jaylen Brown for 34-year-old Kevin Durant, who has knee injury or has had a knee problem this season. Like, what are you doing here? Like, and again, the people that are like, oh, Kevin Durant would make the Celtics a bona fide, title contender. They're going to win the NBA Finals. Can you remind me really quick, what round did Kevin Durant go out in last year's playoffs in?
I gotta think hard about this one.
Okay.
Can't think of it. Can you remind me?
The first round. I'm not going to ask you because your mind is so bad. Apparently, that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they made the NBA Finals last year. So I don't think Jason Tatum needs Durant to make the finals. And then Jaylen Brown, of course, carried the Celtics in those finals. So it's not like he's a slouch. So
interesting how that works.
Yeah, isn't it? But it's just, again, it's 4 months have gone by. We haven't had any Durant for Jaylen Brown stuff. So we'll just jump back on that and see how many feathers we can ruffle with the potential of trading again a 25-year-old for a 34-year-old. Again, great talent. Don't get me wrong. Like Kevin Durant's a phenomenal player, but the negatives outweigh the positives when you are talking about those two players. And I've seen some people too that are like, oh, Jaylen Brown could potentially walk in free agency. Maybe you want to get out in front of that. Exactly.
Do not care.
Nope. I will take the couple of years left you may have of Brown if he decides to leave for whatever reason. That is a better chance, in my opinion, to win you a championship than getting old and potentially now breaking down Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Like another guy who could be leaving for free agency in the near future, Grant Williams.
This one's a little more interesting.
Take Grant Williams pretty much as like a potential personal rental and keep him. That's where I am at on the Grant Williams subject.
Okay, so you're not moving him either then?
I do not think trading Grant Williams helps you really at all unless you
get
a really good player back off the bench. I do not like the idea of trading Grant at all. If he walks in the offseason, part of the business, I don't think this is a guy you should feel comfortable moving. It's a guy that's come into his own the last couple of years. I don't like the idea of trading him really at all. Unless you get
right there.
A really, really, really good return.
I'm right there with you. And that kind of echoes how Brad Stevens feels about it. This is from that article saying a league source said Brad will not move Williams if he can get a comparable player that's under team control for a couple more years. That's the only spot where this makes sense. Like you get a guy that has a similar skill set to Grant Williams, you get him maybe for a year or two more than maybe you'd have. Obviously, you'd have Williams because he's a free agent this year coming up. I'm with you. He does too much for this team. He's made too many improvements. I wouldn't move him. I did see Keith Smith was discussing on Twitter again today, talking about Jacob Portal's name has come up again, or Poeltl, however you say it.
Hurdle.
Hurdle, like Hurdle.
Hurdle the turtle.
Yeah, there you go.
Tomas Hurdle.
Sure. Whatever you say.
Just like that.
All right, fair enough.
That's how you pronounce it. It's stupid, but that's how you pronounce it.
That is dumb. But I'll take your word for it.
It's like how ayahuasca is spelled.
I'm not even gonna try to spell that. I can't.
Ayahuasca. How is that for a spelling of ayahuasca?
Pretty dumb.
Stupid and dumb.
But I did see that came up. Williams would be a good contract to move, would be similar for San Antonio, but two different skill sets. Grant Williams again can shoot the three. I don't want to say his name now because I'm self-conscious, but Poeltl, he doesn't do that. He's more
a Poeltl. Hurdle, like Tomas Hurdle.
Oh, okay. Why would he spell it with a P then?
I don't know. It doesn't make
sense. Dumb. No, it's hurting my brain. Nonetheless, I would not do that deal. I would not include Grant Williams like in any deal. I get, the quote was, he wants a lot of money. We heard he's got 18 to 20 million waiting for him in free agency, and he wants to play more, probably start. Not sure either one of those things happens with Boston.
It
I'm
is
with you though.
Hurdle.
Yeah,
Multiple people tell me it's Hurdle with an H.
oh, people are effing with you then.
Idiots.
You need to get
I'm
better
being
people
effed
to
with.
talk to. Yeah.
I'm being effed with.
Classic pranks left and right.
Damn it.
But yeah, I
Look
just
like a
again
fool.
to stop the rambling and move on to the next thing. I'm with you. Grant Williams, do not move him at the trade deadline. I think it'd be dumb
Yeah.
to. I think you're getting worse if you do that, because I don't know how many players you can get that are comparable to him. And then again, what he did last year, you know, if you can't stack up against Milwaukee again, Grant Williams did such a great job defending Giannis in that series last year. You're gonna have to rely on him again. And you're gonna have to rely on him down the stretch, especially if Al and Rob can't continue to go. It'd be dumb to move him at the trade deadline. Another name too that I'm surprised has come up,
even
but
crazier.
yeah, I'm glad the Celtics have basically have shut down any possibility of it being any trade happening. Derek White, this quote saying rival teams have called Boston about Derek White only to be shut down. One team said we thought with all their guard depth that White might become available. He's not untouchable, but they would need more than what they gave up to get him last year. Of course, first round pick and some players in that deal. Romeo Langford being the guy that went to San Antonio. Another source said White has
the other guy. What's his face? I forget.
Was it basically a bench player, wasn't it?
It was like Josh something.
Oh, it was Josh Richardson. That's right.
Josh Richardson.
I don't know why I thought he was part of the Schroeder trade.
No.
But yeah, that's right. It was Richardson, Langford in the first round pick. Which again, I do that deal every day and on Sunday. The other source said White has a ton of value. They've set a price no one is going to meet. Sources told Celtics blog the teams that called about White included the LA Clippers, Mavericks, pre-Kyrie, Magic, and Nuggets. None of the talks got close as Boston wants to win now players and at least one first round pick in exchange for White. That makes sense. That's what they got him for. And like you said, I'm glad that they're sticking with Derek White. I think it'd be dumb to move him, especially now when you have these question marks surrounding Marcus Smart, his health moving forward. That's again, an ankle is something you're gonna have to monitor. And then Malcolm Brogdon's been in and out of the lineup at times with injuries of his own. White's been consistent. He seemingly has found a role here that works well. You know, you can rely on him.
Players in the league.
Absolutely. He's one of the best defensive guards. I don't know if he still is up there. I thought at one point he was leading maybe guards and blocks. I may have been mistaken on that. Okay. So I don't know if he's still doing that, but again, versatile guy, can play both guard positions. That's why a lot of teams are calling on him, but the Celtics, rightfully so, are saying, no, please go away. We're not trading this guy.
Yeah. I mean, this is crazy. This shouldn't even be entertaining. I'm glad they're shooting it down.
Mm-hmm. I said it earlier that the traded player exception is going to come back into this thing. And I'm glad this year it looks like the Celtics are going to use it. This $5.89 million TPE comes from the Schroeder trade last season. This quote says, one source told Celtics blog, we haven't talked a player who makes more than $6 million with Boston. They're offering picks and minor players for our low salary guys. They want to use that TPE. Another quote said, keep an eye on the Celtics potentially sending a protected first round pick or 2 second round picks in exchange for a player that makes under $6 million to fit the TPE. It seems Boston has no plans to let that expire. And then I was just looking it up today, scouring Twitter, the internet, some players that fall into that TPE to keep an eye on. Charlotte's power forward, PJ Washington, he makes 5.8. He'd be a good versatile big man who can shoot, kind of similar to Vanderbilt's skill set. It may not cost a ton on an expiring contract. You know, second rounders and young players, like that quote said. Hamidou Diallo, I think is how you say that, from Detroit. He's a shooting guard, solid bench option. He makes 5.2 million. You know, hasn't been great from deep this year. He's shooting under 30%. To me, I don't know if they need another shooting guard. We just talked about it with the White stuff. They're pretty heavy at the guard position. So he wouldn't be the first guy on my list, but maybe a name that they entertain. Sadiq Bey, I think he'd be the best option out of these guys. He's a young guy, has 2 years of control, can play, you know, the 3 of the 4, good shooter, but Detroit's probably going to want a lot for him with like I said, the age, the price tag, and the year he's put together. And then a smaller name, Naz Reid of Minnesota. He's only making 1.9 million this year. Another good depth, big man piece. But Minnesota's in the middle of a playoff race. You just saw them make a trade, as we said when we jumped on the Celtics stuff. Is he a guy that they're going to maybe want to, you know, let go? Probably not, because they used him pretty, not substantially, but, you know, he's a decent piece for that team. I don't know if there's any names to you that you recognize or any names or just your thoughts on the whole TPE thing as a whole.
I saw the Mavericks getting someone named Nikhil Alexander Walker as well. I don't know if you mentioned that name. Yeah, I like Sadiq Bey the most. I think, you know, he was a pretty high draft pick a few years ago. One of the better players in college in his draft year. That would be crazy if they could pull him out of Detroit, because
it would.
that would just be, a decently pricey deal because he's young, cheap, and valuable still. But man, that would be something, and not just a rental type guy. But I like him the most. Like that, just I don't know how you can pick anyone else of these guys.
Mhm.
I feel like every single year we see one of PJ Washington or PJ Tucker on the trade block. Like I feel like every single year one of them, if not both of them, is on the trade block every
Yeah,
year.
there's the PJs and then the Trents. I feel like always one or two of them get moved. Like the Gary Trents. What was it last year?
Or
2 years
Larry
ago?
Nance.
Larry
Nance
Nance
is
is
another
another one too that gets kind of shopped around left and right.
Yeah.
To finish up too, that Celtics blog article, like I said, there was a decent amount of names. This is the guy I think the Celtics probably could dangle out the most. And probably their most movable asset being Peyton Pritchard. We talked about him, I think, last week when we brought up the comments he had on Andre Iguodala's podcast, talking about, when he leaves Boston, wanting to play more. When we talked about it last week, I said, I don't know if I would move him. He's a decent depth piece, but with that stuff coming out, I think, again, he had a comment where he's like, wants to play more, wants an opportunity. I'm not saying you trade him as punishment or anything like that, but if you can get something for him, again, maybe you trade him for a center or, a forward, depth type of guy. I wouldn't be opposed to that. This quote said opposing teams continue to call on Pritchard. One told Celtics blog they have to trade a guard, right? Pritchard made it pretty clear he wants to play more. Another quote saying others say the Celtics are in no rush to move the third-year guard. This last comment saying, quote, league sources expect the logjam at guard to be something that is resolved over the summer. One source put it succinctly. They're trying to win a title. You don't give away good depth at spots with injury histories. Boston won't get cute. I can't remember what your answer was last week on Pritchard. Is this a guy you would move at the trade deadline if something comes up, or are you in the mindset of, like this comment said, that, maybe they move him in the offseason in a sign and it'd have to be a sign and trade type of thing. Because I think he's a free agent or maybe has one more year left on the contract. But what are your thoughts on Pritchard moving forward?
Same thing as last week. Like if you can move him in the right deal, do it. But I don't think they should be in a rush to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pritchard will be okay with it if they win a championship.
I should say there's not going to be any complaints there. I think he'll be fine with the role he's given. And we're seeing him again with the injuries starting to play a little bit more, producing. So maybe he'll find his way back into the rotation as the season comes to an end. Again, or maybe you dangle him, see if you can get something of better value. I don't know. Who knows? The last one, the buyout market, of course, we talked about as well. Celtics are usually involved in that. It's probably the first year they have the best shot at being the number one team or number one destination in the buyout market. This was talking about Danilo Gallinari. His injury gives the Celtics roughly a $3.2 million disabled player exception, a DPE, not to be confused with the TPE, because the NBA just can never be not confusing when it comes to this stuff. So this is the type of thing too that I think a lot of people are talking about when it comes to the Celtics not wanting to move Gallinari, because if they do trade him, that DPE automatically expires, so you can get something out of that. The comment said, quote, one source said Boston is going to pick off whoever they want on the buyout market. They have money and they have minutes, and that they're a title contender. That checks all the boxes. One name, there's obviously, this is just speculation. I'm not saying I know anything about this, but Kevin Love did fall out of Cleveland's rotation the other night. I saw they're not going to play him as much, if at all. So that's a name to me. Celtics may need a big man, a guy with some shooting ability, some postseason history and success. Sneaky pick here for me. I don't know if you love this guy or not, no pun intended. Keep an eye on Kevin Love's name. If he gets bought out in Cleveland, maybe that's a guy that Celtics bring in on a veteran minimum and, use him as a upfront type of depth piece moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe Kevin Love's still playing. That's just wild to hear his name.
You kind of forget about him because of the role he has in Cleveland. Was basically a sixth man the last couple of years. He played that role pretty well. But this year apparently has just not been able to crack the rotation.
I would mix him and Kyle Korver up all the time when Kyle Korver was still in the league. Jaylen Brown will not return to the game tonight. He has a facial contusion. So that stinks. Another top player out of the lineup right now for the Celtics. Hopefully it won't last too long though. But yeah, I'm in the same boat on Peyton Pritchard. But what is next on this laundry list of
I know, NBA I told you there's a lot coming out today.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot.
These names, like I said, particularly came out today. You texted me this morning, a player I know nothing about, had to do some digging on, but Jayshawn Tate's name has come up, a forward from Houston, from Kelly Eco, I think, is how you say that, from the Athletics, said the Celtics, Nuggets, Suns. Yeah. Celtics, Nuggets, Suns, and Wizards are showing interest in Jayshawn Tate. 16 games this year, 2 starts. He plays 20 minutes for Houston, 7.3 points per game. Decent field goal shooter, but not all that great from 3. Missed some time earlier in the year with a sore ankle injury. He'd be a good defensive presence. Versatility, like the Celtics can play the small forward, the power forward position. He is signed through 2025, so there's some tenure there. The numbers don't jump off the page for me. And again, the games, the missed time with an injury. We talked about it with Nerlens Noel. Do you want to bring in a guy that's had some injury history to replace some guys or to fill in for some injury history guys? Not a huge fan of it. Yeah, I'm not too high on this name. I don't know. Again, like you said, you didn't know anything really about him either this morning. If you did some digging yourself or just any overall thoughts on him?
No, I just learned about him today, as you said. So
right.
I do not know.
Fair enough. Moving on, I feel like this is a name you maybe know a little more about. Eric Gordon's name has come up as well. Another Houston player as the Rockets try to it seems like blow it up and continue to tank. This is from Sam Amico of HoopsWire saying Eric Gordon has drawn exploratory interest from the Celtics, Raptors, and Heat. I would love Eric Gordon here, a proven veteran guy that can score. He's started all 46 games for the Rockets this year. I don't think he'd be opposed to coming off the bench for the Celtics. And like I said, a veteran scorer role off the bench. But I have no idea how you make this work money-wise. He's owed north of $19.5 million this year. He has a non-guaranteed contract next year for just under $21 million. We talked about obviously having to move guys like Gallinari, maybe Grant Williams, Cornette's contract, Pritchard, maybe, just money wise. I'm not saying you add all those guys in one deal. But this is a headache type of trade. Try to figure out money wise. Again, love the player, would love him here. But this one just doesn't seem realistic from a trade standpoint. I don't know how the non-guaranteed contract works if you buy him out, but maybe a name, like I said, with Kevin Love, if he gets bought out, it's going to be tough because obviously there is interest with the Raptors and the Heat. I think he played for Miami a while back, so there's some familiarity there if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe watch his name in the buyout market, but again, I don't know how realistic this one is just from the money standpoint and the name. But do you have any thoughts on Eric Gordon if he's a guy you'd bring in?
Yeah, I like what I feel like he's got a good track record the past few years. I also like the idea of them beating out the Raptors and the Heat for him. If you can make this work, I think he'd be a really ideal bench guy. So I'm all for it if they can make it work.
All right there with you. Last one too. I think the last one, we're getting down to the end of it. Just before, I wanted to get the closing thoughts on the biggest trade that's happened so far, or maybe now not the biggest one because of what happened today. But from Yahoo Sports, Jake Fisher had an interesting kind of rundown of how the Celtics are viewing Gallinari and Pritchard, who we talked about. He today said Boston has been exploring the combined outgoing value of Danilo Gallinari and Peyton Pritchard, sources said, as the Celtics search for center reinforcements. 2 names of big men that match the outgoing salary. Jacob Poeltl and Mo Bamba. This was from Keith Smith earlier today saying Peyton Pritchard alone would be an overpay for Mo Bamba. Never mind tossing Danilo Gallinari in there too. Bamba just hasn't been good. And I don't think he's ready to play any kind of meaningful minutes in the finals on a finals contender. He also went on to talk about Gallinari because, again, there is some weird contract stuff with him saying Gallinari can't be traded to the Spurs. It's a little bit of a loophole. San Antonio couldn't re-sign him. But they can reacquire him via trade after waiving him because he signed with another team. It's a weird situation, but the takeaway is Gallo can be traded to San Antonio again. So I don't know if that means Gallinari can't be traded anywhere else. I don't know why that would be the case, but again, just to show the headaches of the NBA contracts and stuff like that. And an interesting tweet here from Keith Smith too. I don't know if I want to get your thoughts on this or not, but he said, I operate under this rule with the Celtics. If you hear about it ahead of quote unquote, the Celtics are report, then it's probably not happening. Boston does a really nice job working in silence. No one heard about Horford, White, or Brogdon before those deals were done. The White one's a great one because I remember it too when they traded for him last year. The deadline kind of was like, where the hell did this come from? Really good player. Surprising that they were able to get a player his caliber for a guy like Langford and for an expiring contract like Richardson, or a guy, that had kind of fallen out of favor in the rotation. So I think there's some merit behind that. Maybe some of these names that we've thrown out there, don't expect the Celtics to go after because they've had some interest on the Poeltl and Bamba. I don't want Mo Bamba either. I just don't care at this point. It's a struggle. You know what it is for me when it comes to names.
Meme. It's just an ongoing meme at this point.
I'd just be glad I haven't said the name like 12 different ways in the times I've talked about him. But either one of those two guys, from what I've quickly rambled on about, Mo Bamba, I feel like Mo Bamba's more so known for the song than anything else. Like he hasn't made that great of an NBA career. You know, he's had some moments this year for the Magic, but the Magic stink. He can't crack their starting lineup for as long as he's been with that team, a couple of years now. I don't want him. I'm definitely, like Keith Smith said, not giving up Peyton Pritchard for him because I think that's, like he said, such an overpay and a lopsided trade in favor of the Magic. And then, you know, when you get Rob Williams back healthy, when you get Al Horford back healthy, this guy's not going to play a ton. So I'm out on both these big men. I'm kind of in the same mindset you are with the Bruins of, you know, go out and get maybe a cheaper option that you can fit in here and there. You don't really need to get this, you know, world beater type of guy that is going to play a super diminished role for you. Because Polo goes from a starting role in San Antonio to a bench role here. Like that's, and then he needs a contract at the end of the season. He's a free agent. He's probably not going to take money to be a backup center here. So you're getting him as a rental for Pritchard. I wouldn't really do that either.
Nope, I'm out on both.
All right, fair enough. Last one, the NBA trade stuff. Like I said, we're not going to go into like predictions of where guys are going to go. I just want to get your thoughts on this because this was the trade that shook the NBA over the weekend. Kyrie Irving once again bitches and once again gets his way. He gets traded to the Mavericks for Spencer Dinwiddie, who of course was a former Brooklyn Net. I found that funny because the Nets moved Dinwiddie or got rid of him to try to make room for Kyrie Irving in his contract. Now he returns to the Nets. Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 first-round pick, a 2027 and 2029 second-round pick. It was interesting, though. Apparently, Brooklyn had multiple packages on the table for Kyrie Irving. This was from Shan Sharania. Said that the Phoenix Suns offered a package around Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and one first-round pick. The offer was made within the first 18 hours of Irving's trade request, and it's believed that 3 first-round picks could have clinched a deal. That's what Brooklyn wanted, but the Suns said no way. Ian Begley, NBA insider, said the Lakers had an offer earlier in the week that included Russell Westbrook and a first-round pick for Irving. The Lakers said no, or Brooklyn said no, rather, as we'll get into in a second why they may have said no to that. Matt Moore, the Action News, said Rob Pelinka and co. simply didn't want to part with 2 first-rounders for Irving. And then Shams Charania on Kyrie Irving's contract situation, which was interesting, talking about how he wanted just to get out of there, saying that even if the Nets offered Irving a 4-year, $198 million max contract, I see you shaking your head already. Kyrie Irving would not have taken that. Now, of course, Irving has come out over the last couple of days saying how disrespected he's felt in Brooklyn and basically that he, again, feels like the media was out to get him and blah, blah, blah. Wow. It's everyone else's fault except for me. Your thoughts on Kyrie Irving and anything
Everyone's fault besides him.
Yep.
He really is the worst ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of things to say about Kyrie Irving. I've said everything I had to say. This trade is essentially just Irving and Morris for Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith because these fucking picks are so far down the road. They're pretty much just not a part of the trade to me.
Yep.
Like, it's just ridiculous. Oh, cool. We can worry about what's going to happen with this pick in 6 years. Like, I'm in my 30s in 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever, man. Like,
I think the interesting
see how Kyrie ruins Dallas. I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. I said it when it happened. I'm like, now you pray for Luka Doncic because it's just 2 complete opposite personalities. Like Luka, I feel like is such a stand-up guy on and off the court. Kyrie Irving obviously has the respect of a ton of players, but like such an a-hole off the court, as we know. Good luck to Dallas. Good luck to Luka. I did see a tweet that said, you know, Dallas gave all this up, and there's a thought that he may just be like a 2-month rental. And that he won't re-sign with Dallas, so they won't look to re-sign him to begin with. So I found that kind of interesting. The other thing that I was going to get to, maybe the most interesting part of the whole thing, is Joe Tsai, their owner, reportedly, like I said, had some offers on the table from the Lakers, and he himself did not want to trade Kyrie Irving to LA. Of course, that's where Kyrie wanted to go. There was a report that he wanted to link up with LeBron. Of course, LeBron had that stupid interview with ESPN talking about how he was a little upset that the Lakers didn't push harder for Kyrie. This tweet was from Mark Stein saying Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai, a quote unquote presumed objective to trade Kyrie Irving somewhere other than the Lakers, of course, his preferred destination. So good for him putting his foot down and being like, we're not going to trade you to go play with your buddy. Like, we're not going to give you the benefit there of going with that. I was kind of hoping they moved him to a crap team. It's just a super punishment, but Mavericks, I guess, give the best offer. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go with Phoenix's. You know, Chris Paul, Jay Crowder probably would have been 2 good pieces to pair with Kevin Durant there in Brooklyn, maybe make a run. But it seemed like the Nets wanted the younger guys, the more depth guys, and Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith, and of course the picks. good luck to them. Good luck to Kyrie Irving in Dallas, or of course, good luck maybe to Luka Doncic for having to deal with that. All the power to you, man, because it's going to be tough.
Good luck to ya.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Josiah did that. I would have done the same thing. So
Absolutely. Like, good for him, because I feel like we've seen before, and especially in the NBA, like you kind of cave and cater to where the stars want to go. Obviously, Kyrie, free agent at the end of the year. There's already the reports out there and the tweets that he can just sign with the Lakers anyway, which the Lakers may look to do that in the offseason regardless. So if he ends up there, 3 head cases maybe with LeBron, not as obviously bad as Kyrie, but you know what I mean? Like 3 personalities, and him, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie all in LA. That'd be something to keep an eye on and watch and see how that dynamic all shapes out, because it didn't work with Russell Westbrook and those three guys. So
we'll see the classic
Who
graphic
knows?
of who's stopping these 3, and it'll be getting into the playoffs.
Oh, they already had that with Luka. It's like, who's stopping this duo? And it's
And
like
they had
the
it
guy
when-
on the right, Kyrie Irving,
Ben
is stopping
Simmons,
it.
Kyrie
Like,
Irving, and Durant in Brooklyn. It never
Mhm.
works out. It's like a curse
No.
when you do that. Honestly,
seems like it. Yeah.
it's very goofy ass league.
Mhm.
I think that's going to wrap it up for basketball on the show, though. What
I
do you
think so. There's no other. I'm looking really quick. No other breaking news. Celtics have not made any sort of trades or anything like that. NBA trade deadline, of course, tomorrow at 3 p.m. So keep an eye on that and see. Oh, here was the tweet I found really quick. The 5-year deal that Russell Westbrook signed back in 2017. This is from Field Yates. Signed a 5-year, $205 million extension with the Thunder in 2017, the largest contract in NBA history at the time. In the 5 years of that deal, year 1 played for the Thunder. Year 2 was traded to the Rockets. Year 3 was traded to the Wizards. Year 4 was traded to the Lakers. Year 5 was traded to the Jazz. So that is where Russell Westbrook is at, in his NBA career. Where will he play for next? Tune in next year to find out.
Yeah, because we know he won't play for the Jazz
No.
this year.
Oh yeah, that's true. Tune in like next week, I guess, to see where he ends up playing after he gets bought out.
We certainly know that.
Mhm.
That is going to wrap it up for episode 129. Thank you for listening. The 2023 listenership has been awesome to start. So please keep listening and stay with us. We do appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Mike_Cratty. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio. Follow the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. You can follow the show on TikTok as well. Just throw the name into the search bar. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. If you're new here, or if you're looking to listen somewhere else, you can do some exploring. Super Bowl. We'll recap it all next week and all that and more. Maybe the Bruins will make a trade for Luke Shen, because it seems like they're one of the front runners with the Calgary Flames potentially. So that'll be something to monitor. And we'll have all that and more next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And we will talk to you next week. Peace out.